Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Building Svelte Society episode. Today, I'm joined by Madi Ostoja, and we're going to talk about Pollen, which is a cool CSS framework. But before we begin, Madi, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me on. So I'm a software engineer in New Zealand, mainly front end, but full stack. I work for a little studio here, building some really cool projects locally. My main bread and butter is React, but in my personal projects, I love Svelte. I've gone full on in it for everything I do outside of work. So I've got a side project going, which I'm using Svelte for the entire platform called Bokeh, which is like a platform for photographers. And yeah, I built Pollen out of that to sort of help with the design system there, and it's sort of grown into its own thing from there.
Cool. All right. So, should we explore what Pollen is? I've got the
Yeah, for
website right
sure.
here. So, let me see if I can bring this up using my old man technical skills. All right, here we go. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So this is the docs, right? So
Mhm.
so what's pollen?
So Pollen, pardon me, is a CSS library. It's a library of CSS variables, and it's sort of designed to be a foundation for your design system. So it's loosely inspired by Tailwind, which I was using at my work before this. And the idea behind both is the same, or behind utility-driven USS is the same, which is you have a large library of very low-level design tokens. So nothing that would impart a style, but stuff like a sizing scale, font size scale, corner radiuses, colors, that kind of stuff that you use to basically compose designs rather than create them from scratch. If you think about it, like in any other language, like JavaScript, whatever, magic numbers or magic values throughout an interface is a bad thing. But instead, it's been the standard for the last how many years. So where Pollen differs is something like Tailwind uses classes to impart that sort of basic idea. So Pollen takes a more like sort of web standards approach and uses CSS variables. So rather than applying a class like py4, whatever it might be in Tailwind, you have a sizing scale or you have a border radius scale or whatever it might be, and then you just use those CSS variables throughout your code base. And the idea is to use them wherever you can, and it's configurable, so you can add new ones. And the ideal is that you have no like magic numbers or magic values throughout your code anywhere. Everything is back to a variable, and that means you ensure consistency, you ensure scalability, and you don't have a single source of truth for your entire design system used throughout your project.
Yeah.
So that's the basic idea.
Cool. So it's kind of like a design system as well as a framework in a way, I guess.
Yeah, so I wouldn't call it a framework. It's definitely like more of a library, like you can mix it in. It doesn't really impose any sort of structure
Yep.
or design language. Yeah, so it comes with a set of defaults, again, sort of loosely based on Tailwind, which gives you everything you need out of the box. But then you can also configure it and extend it to make your own design system with whatever, design tokens you might need in your project.
Yeah. Cool. So how do I get started? I have this
The first
I
thing
have this
is,
project here.
yes, awesome. So there are a few ways you can get it. The easiest is just to install it off npm. So the npm package is pollen-css.
Yep. All right. So pollen dash CSS. Right?
Then once that's installed, there's a few ways you can use it. The most straightforward way is just to import it in your project, as long as it supports CSS, which SvelteKit does. So you just import it in your your layout component, or whatever it might be, somewhere global, and that will then make the variables available anywhere on the site.
Let let's try that, I guess, so people can see how that would work.
You're missing a dash on layout as well.
Oh yeah. I'm still living in the Sapper days. I think
Yeah,
that was one dash.
yeah.
All right. Let's see here. Okay, so we have a super basic layout. So we import. What do we import?
CSS, pollen-css, and that will in quotes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that will resolve to the main default CSS file. Just import CSS just as it is without from. That will just import the default
Oh, yeah.
file, which is the CSS. You can import on CSS/CSS as well, but that'll resolve automatically with thanks to npm. And then that's it. You now have all in the docs, all the default tokens to use throughout the project.
All right.
And I don't know if you want to get into it, but in VS Code, you also got autocomplete support if you want to install an extension.
I think I have
use
that.
those variables throughout the project.
Yeah. So is it the CSS var complete?
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to add some kind of path there, right?
Yeah. So in your VS Code settings, you add a VS Code settings file. You would add the path to Pollen, and that will give you autocomplete of all the variables, which is really handy because even I often forget like what I named, what exactly the scale is.
I guess there are a couple of hundred of them, right?
Sorry.
There are a couple of hundred of them.
Exactly.
Probably.
Yeah. So it definitely makes sense. Just like your dash scale, and then you can just scroll through what's there, shows you what the values are.
What do you think? Should we do that, or should we just try and play around with it?
I mean, it'll definitely make it easier, so might as well.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah. So you've already got that installed. So you need a .vs Code folder.
Oh right. Yeah. I always do this using like the settings menu.
Yeah, just easier per project.
.vs Code. So it's the folder, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Code.
And then inside that you have a settings.json.
Yeah. Here we go. All right. Cool.
Yeah. So now let me just double check their docs. Actually, it's been a while since I've checked myself. Yeah. Now you have a config thing called CSS var.files.
So CSS
bar files.
Yep.
And then
there we go.
There you go. And then to that you would put an array.
Yep.
And you would put Pollen's default CSS, which is in your node modules. So you go node modules.
Oh right. So
yeah.
Oh god.
Pollen CSS.
Policy. I always write style because it's the website domain.
Yeah,
right?
And then it's just pollen.css is the default.
Pollen.css. All right.
And then there's a few options you can have. Like the one that might be worth doing is turning off their sorting. So if you go another option, CSS bar .disable sort in the next one. Disable sort.
Disable sort.
Yeah, true. And then the last one you want to do is enable it in Svelte files. So the last one you want is CSS bar.extensions, and you want that to have
Is that
an array as well. Yeah. Just
Svelte?
Enable it in Svelte. And maybe we need TypeScript. Probably not. Just Svelte now. We do.
Is it a dot or is it?
Sorry, no
sure
dot.
No dot.
Just
all right. Is it the same here then? I wonder why it's screaming at me.
Oh, but it's JSON, so it needs to be double quotes.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. And you would want dot in the node module path. I'll try to get it from your
yeah.
Perfect. So yeah, let's just set it up. Save that, and it should be all good. Now we can use that in a style block, and then you can have whatever you need.
Let's try a button.
Yeah, perfect.
And we'll just do button.
Yeah, and then you just do like border radius, sure, and then just dash should bring up the. Might need a reset or something.
Let's do that. I'll restart.
Yeah, it might be a. Maybe it needs to be you're doing a monorepo, aren't you? VS Code might need to have the folder in the root of the workspace.
Yep, let's move it.
I would assume.
Not there.
Yeah, it's so hard. So drag and scroll.
How do I even do?
There you go.
Jesus.
Yeah, that should now, hopefully.
Let's try. No, all right.
Good. Why?
Well, theoretically,
we
it will work.
It should. Hopefully that'll. I don't know.
It's probably more to do with the extension than
yeah, you'd hope so. Because you're in a workspace, you'd have to go in a monorepo. You'd have to find the node modules, But if you note, so if he
Yeah.
packages, site,
Uh,
it's okay. We
yep.
leave it off for now, but that's the basics, and that would then give you an
Yep.
autocomplete list of everything as you type,
Yep.
which is very handy if you're not in a very complex mode.
Definitely, especially for me because I don't know the variable names.
Yeah, well, you can set it up. If you go back to it, I think it should work now if we give it the full path to your node modules, which I
Yeah.
imagine should be. I don't know how PNPM does it. Would it be in the global node modules? The root node module? Obviously not, it's not working. So I guess
you
so, yeah,
do something like
packages,
this.
site.
Site.
Is that
Hey,
that should
maybe.
be it?
Let's try.
Yay!
Yay! We did it.
Yeah, so now that gives you the value over to the side of what they are, which is really handy. So scroll through and do it.
That's great.
And you start typing out radius, it'll auto-complete that list, and then you can go from there.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
We
so
want
it makes
round
it a lot easier
buttons.
to work with.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I can do this with colors as well?
Absolutely,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
You have a default color, scale, and all that sort of stuff.
So color, yeah. So this is awesome. All right. So we got it set up.
Yeah.
And it's obviously very easy to work with. So say if I had like some, because I'm going to use this for the actual Svelte Society website, right? And we have some different colors that aren't really the default ones that are in Pollen. Is there a way to change that?
Yes, so it does give you a default set, but it's sort of designed to be extended. So this is the easy way to get started, but sort of the more complex way to get started with the design system is to actually not import the default and instead create a config file and generate your own bundle. So instead of importing the default bundle with that, we're going to instead, you can get rid of that now or do it later. And we're going to instead create a pollen.config file in our root, which I guess would be, again, I don't know how monolith will work. If you run your scripts from there. Yeah, okay, cool. So pollen.config.js. Yep, and now here we've got, if you want to have TypeScript support, you can either use JS notation to import that, or you can, Pollen comes with a defined config helper, sort of like, I think Vue does something similar. So up to you how you want to do that. If you want TypeScript support for the config,
let's leave that out. I'm not a
huge
TypeScript buff, so
okay, no stress at all. So what we want is just a module.exports equals object.
Sorry, equals.
I just put an object.
Oh right, yeah.
Yep, and then this is your config. So the first thing you want to define is an output path of the new bundle. So output, and that can be anywhere. And this is what you've now got to import rather than Pollen directly. So maybe in like styles or whatever. Would you want to put it?
I guess I want to put it in source.
Yeah.
And then do I add a file name as well, or?
Yes. Yeah. Full path to a file.
Let's call it pollen.css.
Yeah, and normally you'd ignore this in your source control and then have a build script like as part of your CI. You would then generate this. You don't have to, but it's a generated file. It's a best practice since it's generated. You don't want to submit it. So the next thing is modules. So another, Now there are two things you can do. This configures all of Pollen's modules, and a module is like a set of values. It'd be like radius, scale, size, color. Basically, the first part of the name is the module. So there's three things you can do. You can enable and disable them. They'll enable by default. So if you want to say, you know what, I don't need colors. I'm just going to, have my own color somewhere else. You can go in modules. You can just pass false to color, for example, and that will then disable colors entirely.
So would this be an object that I just do?
Yes, and then
color is false.
Oh no, just color. Just
because it's the
name of the and that would then remove colors from the output entirely. That's usually not what you want unless you're like really trimming down, being really thorough with your optimization. It's already only like a kilobyte. But more often, you either want to overwrite or extend them. So the easiest thing to overwrite them, so if you want a whole custom color scale, which is quite common, you would pass your own object here. So color, and then pass an object to it. And then every key of the object is the rest of the name. So color, then like gray 50 or whatever. So, it'd be in string with a dash in it, but and then and the value of that is the value of the variable. So that was
gotcha.
Let's spread f. or something. I forget. I don't know off the top of my head what the hexes are, but
Yeah. It's just, yeah.
then this would then, if you have only that, you have a single color variable in Pollen.
Yeah. And you'd
that would
want
have
all of them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A more common use case is to tweak or extend the current values. So say you want, I love the grayscale, but I want to change the red values. This configuration file must be a function. So rather than module exports equals an object, you can make it module exports equals an arrow function, which is pollen, which is, and the argument in there is pollen, or whatever you want to call it, but I would call it pollen.
Yep. That makes sense.
And then return in this, rather than that's now a function, put a brackets around the, or return.
Oh, I see.
However you want to do it,
Gotcha.
just so it returns an object.
Yeah.
Perfect. And now you can, so that object, that argument to the function is all of Pollen's defaults. So now in color, you can just spread.
Right.
You can just go ... pollen.color, and then overwrite what you need.
Yep.
.color.
Right, and that.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you're right. And then you can then, whatever you do here, you either extend it or overwrite. If it's an existing key in color, it'll then overwrite. So that's sort of
let's make it blue.
Oh, wild!
Just to see it work.
Perfect. And that will then now be 100 will now be blue, which is great.
Excellent. That's what you want.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and then of course the only issue here now is that your design system differs from Pollen's doc. So it's actually an open issue, which I'll get to this week, maybe if I get a chance, to also export a JSON file of all your resulting variables you then use for internal docs and so on.
Yeah.
So the next step I would do is to add a pre-build script. So if you call it pre-build, it'll then run automatically before build. And then just call it Pollen. So Pollen will run, it does have optional arguments, but Pollen will run with the default config.js with the output in that file, and then it'll run that. And then you can go ahead and ignore that output file from your source control, like a git ignore.
Let's see here. Where's my, there it is. All right. So if I do pm it should generate, and it should pop up somewhere around here.
In source. Did it not?
Did it run? Let's see.
Check the output.
Build. Building for production. That should happen first,
right? Check the
right?
config file again.
Yep.
Source pollen. See that? It might be. Is it down to your? Again, I'm not super familiar with monorepos. Would it be in the run from the base somewhere?
It should run inside site, so it should be somewhere around here.
Oh, that's strange. Double check. Can you just try run pollen directly? If you just go in,
absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So pm.
Just pollen. You don't need a. Actually, you might need to install it.
Yeah, probably.
Locally, or I don't know what npm's equivalent of npx is.
I think we could do this. Pollen.
Perfect. Yeah, pollen.
Yeah. pm pollen.
Oh, what's it?
That's probably require ESM.
Oh, okay. So you need to call it CJS because SvelteKit doesn't like.
Gotcha.
It's a module. Yeah. So pollen.config.cjs.
There we are. Yep.
And then you might need to, in the pollen build script, you might need to change the path to the config. So in the pollen command, you go -c or -- config, and that'll give the path to the config file.
So that'll be pollen.config.cjs.
Yeah, I really should add a check for that actually. Note to self to automate CJS files.
Let's try again.
Cool.
Yeah, there we go.
Nice one. Okay,
Let's
great.
see if build works as well.
Beautiful. So that should be updated. Yeah.
Yep. All
Cool.
right.
So now you can go to your git ignore, wherever that is, and ignore that file.
Yeah. Where is my git ignore? There it is. So it's, let's see here. Oh, it's not dot. It's source pollen.css. All right. There we
Perfect. Great. So now you're ready to that's your build setup ready. Now, two more things we need to do. So back in layout,
go. Right.
you now import that built file.
Yep. Oh, script. Script. All right. Import. Let's see here. So this should be just.
Wherever your source lives. Yeah.
Oh, it's not dot. Is it dot slash?
I think it should be for a local file. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You're in. No, you're in routes if you go up one level.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yep.
Cool. So now the last thing you have to do is for your autocomplete. Go back to your config for that.
Gotcha.
And right now you're still using the autocomplete things you're using default bundle. So back in .bs code, which is at the very root of your monorepo.
There we go.
Yeah. And then rather than node module, you're going site, what is it, source pollen.
Source, yeah.
Yeah.
That should be it.
And that will then update where it's reading the variables from. And now you're good to go.
Let's try it. Button. Do background. Dash.
Yeah,
red.
So your red color
100,
red.
And it's blue.
There it is. And it's blue.
Amazing.
Wild. So that's the basics.
Yep.
And the final thing you can do while we're on the config stuff is if you go back to your config, back to the config CJS, then what you can do, so this is basic so far, we've either enabled or disabled modules, overwritten them or extended them. You just want to make your own custom ones. This is where Pollen gets quite powerful for building your own design system. So if you add another key that's not part of Pollen, like for example, like a typeset key, or what I normally do is make, like something out of all projects is make typesets for all the fonts used throughout. Like for example, my pattern, it's not a standard, but I used to use display, for example, for headings. And the display is the key, and then display, small display, large, and that controls the entire font stacks for headings throughout the project.
Okay. How would I do that?
We can call it, I don't know what other value you might want, but whatever you want. You have some custom group of values, and that will then get added to that stack. So how it works is similar to how the built-in modules work. The key for the object itself becomes the name of the entire, I guess, family of variables, and then same pattern. The keys of the object itself.
So let's do just display like So I guess small would be
SM small, whatever whatever you like.
That's less characters. Fewer characters, probably correct.
And then how I would do this is I use typesets as for the font properties. It's a full stack. So building off Pollen, you could go like var font sans, I guess, as the font family.
So what would I write in here? So you said var.
Yeah, so in a string, this would be the value. So let me just double check. I always forget the order of check my own project. I always forget the font key in CSS.
Yeah.
I always forget the order they come in. It's such a nightmare. So it would be my mistake. The weight first. So whatever weight you want it to be. Let's say we want to call it like medium. So you got variables for that as well. Numeric numbers. So var.
I see. Font dash medium. Is that
weight dash medium.
Font dash weight.
No, just weight. Sorry.
Just weight. Gotcha.
Yeah, weight dash medium. I'll give it a medium font weight. Then you have the size. Hold on. Wait. Sorry, I'm wrong. No, I'm not. Yeah, sorry. Weight, then size / line height. So for the size, we've got a font scale as well in Pollen. Let's give it like a scale. Again, we haven't enabled auto-completion for JS files. So like, let's go -- scale 3, which is about the third biggest. Then / and your line height.
So sorry, font line. or is it
No,
line?
you got just line. So line dash. Let's give it like a small line height. Letting just line. No line dash height.
Sorry.
You're right. Line dash. Give it like a small SM. Yep. And there should be a slash between those two. So between the font size and the line height should be a slash. And then no spaces, because CSS doesn't like spaces in these. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
And the final one is font dash sans.
Yep. So that would be.
So just font dash before the sans.
Oh, sorry.
Cool.
There we
So
go.
that's your typeset. And that was a real pain. So what you can do, what I've done, is for these sort of things, since it is just JavaScript, you can use functions to generate your copy. As long as it's synchronous, you can do whatever you want. That's your project in your file. So what I've done, for example, in my projects, I have a little typeset helper that you feed it the like font family and the weight and whatever, and it generates that string. But for now, that's given us our display SM. So you save that.
Yep. And then I have to build it
and
again,
then-
right?
And then build it, correct.
So many applications open here. Let's see here. Okay, so I built it, and then do we double check in here?
Should be your display. Maybe in alphabetical order. BCD.
Display.
No. Did it build properly?
Let's just delete it and run it. Maybe it needs to. Oh.
Ooh. Cannot resolve from routes. So why can't
Oh. Did I? So that
okay.
works.
So building tries to. It should be in a pre-build hook though.
Yeah.
Pre-build.
That's odd.
That is odd. I'm not sure. Maybe the pre-build hook isn't working for some reason.
Yeah.
In any case, it's there now.
Yep.
So. Yep, there it is.
There it is.
Great. So if you then use that in a font typeset, be a bit funny for a button, but oh well, be a big button.
Oh. Is the shorthand font? Yeah.
Just font, yeah.
Yep.
Dash dash display, and there it is.
Oh,
so that's your entire
beautiful.
typeset.
Yep.
So the idea being that you can then really should have no values directly in your CSS. You should compose rather than create. That's the idea behind utility-driven CSS in general. And then all Pollen does is take that into a more modern context, more browser standard context, rather using classes. So I found using Tailwind and those sort of frameworks in production, the idea behind them is really good. It helps you maintainability and scalability and consistency. But I found with the classes, they run into so many problems at scale once you get to a big production project. So this just sort of breaks it down to just the variables. Which is a good point actually. So browser support. If you are supporting IE11 first, God help you. But if you are, Pollen comes with a little shim. So you can shim this with a small polyfill to work in IE11.
Right.
So if you want to support IE11, you can import a thing called shimmy from Pollen. So if you, at the top of your file, if you import and then destructure it, so in object shimmy.
So is that right?
Yeah, shim IE.
So 1M?
Yep.
Like that?
No, 2 M's. Yeah. It's
2 M's? Yeah. All right.
From Pollen CSS, and it's in utils.
Style again.
And then /utils. Yeah. And then if you just call on mount, or in browser context, or on mount, it's probably best in Pollen, in Svelte rather, just call shimmy with no arguments. Yep.
Like that.
Yep, and that will check for support. Is it 1 argument? So I've got 0. No. Why? I should be optional. Hold on. Double check my own documentation. Now you just give it an empty object because what it's expecting.
I
is
see. It's
options, but it shouldn't. That should be optional. I'll double check that. So you can get some optional configuration for the polyfill. What that's doing though is it's checking for if it needs browser support, if the browser has support for that. And if it doesn't have support, it conditionally loads a thing called CSS bar ponyfill, which is a great polyfill for CSS variables, and that just reads all the variables on your site and basically recreates them where like does like a regex swap where needed.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
So I guess that would work as far as you don't use like the more like the things that custom properties can be used for.
Correct. So you won't
in
have
other situations, right?
Yeah. So one of the great things with custom properties is that you have a runtime in the browser. So you can like, if you want dark mode, you can just call update those variables, and they'll update across the site wherever they're used, and just change color background from white to black or whatever, color text from black to white, and then you'll reskin your entire site. Which is another really good thing about variables. Is that if you don't have those values hard coded anywhere, you have a single source of truth. You update that source of truth, and the entire site or entire project updates. It makes it really powerful for those sort of times you want like user preferences to change font size or like dark mode, whatever it might be. Since you are using variables, like similar concepts to every other language has had for years since the beginning, CSS now has. So updating those variables, you can then reskin your entire interface pretty easily.
Custom properties are great.
Sorry?
Yeah, no, it's just saying like custom properties.
They're amazing. I'm so glad they got such fast support. They would upload all everything within like a month or two when the spec was finished. Another great thing with that is media queries. So let's say you wanted to, when you're on a mobile, you change, your display typeset or font scale 7 to font scale 4, whatever it might be, to make a heading smaller. You do that in a media query in the root of your site, and it'll change across the entire site.
Yeah.
So you have like sort of automatic responsiveness wherever those values are used. Obviously, it's a bit of a blunt tool. You want to make sure that it does fit everywhere using that use case, but it is really powerful. So I think you actually opened the issue on Pollen to add this sort of support, but that's not in the Pollen config just yet. So what you would do if you want to do that is add your own variables file or somewhere global, and then define that in CSS. You don't have to step out of that Pollen config situation.
I guess that's the strength of this stuff as well, right? You can since it's just CSS, you can just like override it if you want to. So it's really nice.
Exactly. I mean, Pollen was originally just a CSS file, and you overrid it with CSS. The config thing just makes it a bit more streamlined without having to clobber existing variables. But yeah, you could totally do that. Like if you want to have @supports queries or media queries or whatever, or like behind certain classes, change variables. Like once you've got a page class, everything below that can change certain colors or variables you use. All of that is possible, because it is just really basic CSS. Like at the end of the day, it's extremely simple what it does, which is I think is the strength when using this sort of setup compared to something like a Tailwind or like a Bootstrap or something.
I never got into to using Tailwind. I kind of tried it a couple of times, but it always I always find it too hard to read the actual HTML. Makes it tough.
It definitely is hard to look at, which is like not a if it gives you benefits, it's not a problem. Like it's just a bit of a OCD thing. But the problem I found with it, I actually wrote an article on it, which got very spicy very fast. But
it's usually how it goes when Tailwind is involved.
But the problem I found with it is like the ideas behind it, and like it's not pretty, but who cares? But once you get to scale, those class strings become really hard to manage, and like you have modifiers like hover and media breakpoints. You're sort of like reinventing CSS within class strings, and like CSS has these tools. Like you can do media queries and hover states. So you have these tools in CSS. Don't step outside CSS to do it. Where the sort of motivation for this came from is having that really big benefit of having like a design system and low values, no much numbers anywhere, but still keeping it in CSS. So you can use this in CSS in JS, you can use it in Svelte, you can use it in inline styles, whatever. Browser inspector, since it is just part of the platform.
Right. Yeah. That's a good point. Like being able to edit stuff in the browser.
Yeah, totally. So if you want to change a variable in the browser, you just change it. Like there's nothing magic about these. They're just variables in the platform.
Yeah. So do you think there's anything we should take a look at in particular when it comes to like the built-in stuff?
Yeah, sure. So I guess it'd be worth exploring some of the stuff we have. So I guess we'll make a better example of a button, like a
Yeah,
non-trivial example, maybe.
yeah.
Um,
Let's create a lib folder here and a button because this is probably how you do it in
yeah,
a real
cool.
project. Script. I guess we don't really need a script yet.
Yeah.
We need a button tag.
I guess we'll
A
slot in there.
slot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
And the style.
Yeah.
All right.
So the first thing you want to do is get rid of the default styles. Buttons have atrocious styling by the browser. I just go an all on set, so I normally do it.
All on set.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then after that, I usually set the border box again, because you get border boxes all messed up.
So border box.
Content box, isn't it?
Content box, yeah.
Content box, a border. Oh my god, I always forget.
Yeah, this is one of those, like, you always have it in your reset file,
sizing.
but you never... Box
Yeah,
sizing.
so you do
That's
it
the one.
globally. So box sizing, content, a border box rather. Box sizing, border box. One of those things that's sort of like part of your boilerplate. You sort of forget actually typing it. So like, what I do normally with Svelte is have this as a class, just dot unset, and it's like I treat my class as mixins. So I actually use CSS and JS and React. So coming to Svelte was actually a real breath of fresh air. Yeah, and just like put it back in CSS. Like my mixins are now just classes I apply.
Yep.
Revolutionary. So yeah, now we're back to a blank slate. That's now completely styleless. Just did behave properly in a browser. So I guess what do you want it to look like? Like this is where we come. There's no imposed styles here. So
Let's make a blue warning button using our custom red 100.
Oh, perfect. Just keep the developers on their toes. Your team.
Yeah.
Cool. So I would put the background then.
Yep.
As your
I can type.
Yep, so dash or bar, yeah, either one. Color red. And your 100 one is your blue one.
The beautiful 100.
Beautiful.
Yes.
And I think the color to be white then. So there's no variable for that since it's just white.
Yep.
Or grey if I make it. I think white would be nicer.
White is fine.
I guess you want to give it a font. So you haven't set it. So another thing I normally do in a project is set some global defaults. So I have like a base.css or index.css and set stuff like font sans, or again a typeset. I only have like text MD or something globally. But for now, I guess just set that here. So yeah, display SM. Well, it looked quite big with display SM, but we could do that. Otherwise, I just go family like font sans and do it individually for now.
Yeah.
But either way,
let's do this, and we can change fix it later.
Cool. So then the next thing, want some padding, maybe on the border radius as well. Yeah. So here you have the size scale. So size.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then these have. So if they're still in tail, and they follow like a logarithmic scale. So each doubling of numbers represents a doubling of values. That's quite logical in that sense. I guess 8 or 12. Yeah. And you can again size maybe on a scale. So the scale is the font scale.
Sorry. Yeah. There we go.
And I guess like size 3 or 4 maybe for the.
I meant it the other way around there.
Yeah, 3.
There we go.
Cool. And then I guess you want some border radius.
Yep. Radius. So what's the difference here between full and 100?
So 100% is kind of rounded. Full is not like 999 pixels. So
okay.
So it changes it from being a circle, or if it's like a pill, I guess. So you use the full for rounded edges, whereas if it's a square, make a circle, you use 100%.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Cool. And then what else can we do? I guess like a hover state, or a box shadow.
Box shadow, and you have ready-made shadows here. Sorry,
it's called elevation. And the idea behind this is each one. It's sort of based on the material design guidelines. That each elevation is a step higher, so it looks like it's further off the page. So elevation, I guess 1, make it quite low looking.
Yep.
And that's a pretty solid button. And I guess we can add. Like doing like a font weight, so maybe a bit heavier text, because like 400 text looks quite thin when it's on a colored background. We add like
Should
a
we?
oh, we want display SM. That's right. We use our typeset. It's gonna be a big looking button, but that's okay.
Should we? Should we see what it looks like? Maybe.
Let's do
Let's
it.
see.
It'll be a chunky
Yeah.
button. That's okay.
Let's see. Okay. Localhost. Ooh, something's wrong here. There's something for us to fix.
Oh, the unset is not working. Why is that? Oh no, that's our old button. We even imported the button.
Oh yeah, of course.
That's, yeah, the old demo button.
That was weird because some of the variables are obviously working here, right? The blue
Yeah,
is
well, I
working.
think we left our red variable. On.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's see here. Layout, and
Yeah,
let's
cool.
import.
Yeah, we left it as
import button. I'm having trouble writing today. From lib button dot svelte, and then we do button. Hello.
Perfect.
Just remove this.
Yeah,
Okay. There we go.
that's better. Chunky
Yeah.
button.
Yeah, that looks great. Let's
Yeah,
see.
cool.
I can actually do this, right? Cool. All right. So
So I guess the first step would be taming the font a little bit. It's just quite a chunky looking button.
that is a big button. Yeah.
So maybe we just for now good example of using the different individual properties. So I guess like font size. I guess you want to make it just scale 1, like scale 0, like 16 pixels space, or scale how big do you want it? Yeah.
That's fine.
Font family, probably want a sans, I imagine.
Yeah.
So that's font sans, perfect. And then I guess font weight, make it a bit heavier. I think usually, so font weight and then it's just dash weight. Yeah, maybe like a medium or see how that looks.
That
Nice.
looks good.
And then we've got a pretty decent looking button.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We want a hover state as well, right? Let's do.
Yeah, let's do hover state. Good one.
Yep. So I guess changing the elevation, maybe.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
So.
Let's do elevation like 3 maybe.
So a higher number, is that?
It looks like it's further off the page.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I guess you want to transition that as well. So I could do a wee transition on the main.
Oh
there.
yeah. Yep.
Doesn't matter where, but
Transition all. No. Box shadow, was that?
shadow. How long you want it, and then also Pollen has easing functions. So if you go so easing. Now again, these are based on material designs. So standard is like an easy and ease out. Accelerate is like accelerating off the page. Decelerating onto the page. That's the basic thought. So normally you want standard. If it doesn't not going on or off the page. If it's going on or off the page, accelerate and decelerate look really good for like logical motion. And you want to give a duration as well to like however long you want. Yeah, great.
That's the standard for me.
Always,
I always pick 300. This is a bit hard to see. Should we do maybe? Let's see. What's the dash elevation? So 7 is the
7 will be it's
the
right up.
biggest
You have to be
difference.
focused on that.
Ooh,
Yeah, nice.
ooh.
Yeah, there you go. Cool.
That's a weird shadow on a button, maybe.
Yeah, it's pretty intense for a button. It's like it's floating right off the page.
Looks nice. All right. So this is our warning button. It looks nice.
Yeah, and then you're seeing like in this, you haven't got a single other than white. You haven't got a single heart. Everything is composed. So let's say if you go back to your design system and you change like font sans to I don't know Inter or something, that means across your entire site that will change. Which is the main benefit. Same with Tailwind, whatever. That's the main benefit behind these utility-driven CSS is that you're not littering your code base with values. And then, like, in 6 months, you change the brand's font and you have to go through and do a find and replace. And, like, it's so open to human error. So just bringing that consistency that's existed forever in other languages to CSS. And Pollen is just one approach. It's just, make it very low level, I guess, and composable.
Yeah. Should we try changing font sans?
For sure, yeah.
Yeah. So I have the documentation up here, so I can just copy in the default and we can change that a bit, I guess.
Awesome.
All right, so I do that probably in the config file, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you want to go font.
Yep.
And it depends, like, there's only 3 fonts. There's sans and serif and mono. So you either override them all or extend it. But if you're not using the other ones, you can just override it. Or, pollen.font.
Font, not color.
All
right.
Why not?
Yeah, okay. So here's
so that's the default, which is just like, it's sort of an extension of the browser's default stack.
Yep.
So like a bit of polyfill for system UI fonts. So we can change that. My go-to is Inter, but you have to get it from Google Fonts.
Let's do Verdana. That's a beautiful one.
Nice. Yeah, great.
It's not the most beautiful one, and I'd probably pick an installed one. But
so
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it's got
all right.
So you need to rebuild Pollen.
Yep. And let's see. I'm gonna do it manually. So
cool.
Let's see here. All right.
Cool.
Oh,
yeah, nice.
Yeah, and it did change.
It did change. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That is really nice. That's very nice.
Yeah.
Just having this config file and then just being able to change a few things in here that you don't, if you don't agree with like the defaults, you can just tweak it a bit.
And some of them are definitely designed to be like, no one's using system UI, not even using system UI.
Yeah,
like, they're sort of designed to be extended, overwritten, played with.
Yeah.
They just give you a basic, like the size scale is probably pretty good for most people, and the same as the font scale, but stuff like colors, fonts, that sort of stuff changes for every project.
Yeah.
Sort of designed to be like prototyped with and then swapped as you go. And then if you look at this file alongside the docs, or you've got TypeScript, you can see all the values as well. Then you have a single source of truth for your entire visual style of your project. Every value in the project you have in this one place, which is really great for consistency and maintainability.
Yeah, that's really nice. So any other things? I see there's like a grid thing in here as well.
Yes, if you want to start playing with CSS Grid, there's some grid helpers.
Yep. So what can we do with that instead?
Let's go to layout. Yes, chuck it down layouts, but chuck it like a main or a div or something around our button, around our slot.
Yep.
Yeah, it's basically a basic page, I reckon.
Yep.
Cool. And then in a style, let's give that main some basic layout. So Pollen has a thing called the page grid, which is a configurable, it's like a pretty standard pattern you want to do for most pages, basically like a center column and 2 gutters. And then the center column is constrained at a certain width. So if you go display grid.
I need the selector first, I guess.
Yeah, and then grid template columns.
Yep.
And then you go grid page.
Grid page. Oh, I see.
So that's all the configuration. So in your Pollen config, you change, these are just the defaults. So that's the page width is the width that it stops expanding and it becomes a fixed column. And the gutters are the gutters below that. And then what we see in a second. So give it grid page.
So like that?
Yep. And then in main, so all the children of main, so you're going to get below that. So as a separate selector in CSS.
Oh, right. Yeah, sorry.
So main, arrow, like star.
I guess we do global first, right?
True. Yeah. Star.
All right.
And then you want to give these grid column.
Dash grid.
Page main. Yeah, and what that does, so basically it's a 3-column grid. You have your content column and the 2 gutters, and that defaults all children of this layout to the main column. If you want to bust out of that, say if you've got like a full width image that you want to just have full bleed, then you just give that 1/-1 grid column, and that will bust out of that layout.
Right. Yeah.
So this is a basic page layout, and that is all configurable. So if you like in the other values like grid page width and gutter, etc., you can change them in your config, and that will then change this grid.
Yeah.
So you've got the button is outside that, but
let's give it a red.
That'll give the entire thing a red. You might want to give just the main.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So I'd put this here probably.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's your grid. And then if you want to bust something out of it, you'll just give it like a 1/-1.
guess probably want to do that in the...
Yeah, so you give like maybe make
So
the
H1.
paragraph or H1 or something bust out of it.
Yep. Let's do the P. All right. So you said grid column
1 minus 1 / -1.
Yeah. So that's...
And all that does, all the -1 does is it gives it to so we could just do 1/3 and they'll do the same thing. But
Yep.
yeah.
Minus
And then
1
there
is
you've
still...
got your so it's a really nice, if you make your window huge, it'll then constrain at a certain point if it goes big enough, maybe not, but if you go like on a big display, there you go.
Yeah.
You then have a fixed center column. So yeah, that's one of the tools. And then the other tool that has on grid is just really basic helpers for quickly doing grid columns of like 2 columns, 3 columns, up to 12 columns.
Yeah.
And all that does is just gives you a repeater with the like a X columns and does like a 1FR shorthand for that. And the only other thing it has is a grid gap, which is a default gap for columns and rows. And yeah, I love CSS. Another thing I'm so happy I got implemented so fast is CSS grid. Like finally a real tool in CSS.
Yeah. It's so let's say I wanted to change like the width of grid page, for example.
Yes. So in your config.
So that would be here, and I would just do the same thing, but for grid.
Exactly.
I suppose.
So grid. Yep. Then spread pollen.
Yeah. Right. Ooh. Pollen. Not color. Color.
Yep.
All right.
And then you go page. So you have to do page dash width in
right. Yeah.
So dash in it. Yeah. Yep. And then you would have whatever you want to be. So again, I'd probably use an existing width. The widths in Pollen are based on like rough device breakpoints. So if you want to have it on like constrained, like a mobile-ish kind of thing, maybe like width SM or XS.
Something like that.
Yeah. Cool. Yep.
And then we need to rebuild, of course.
Yeah.
Everything is screaming at me here.
Why is... Oh, you're missing a colon after grid. In the very top.
Oh,
yeah.
There we go. Nice. It's interesting because the text is so big that it's
you can't see
like
what you're
hard.
doing. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's see here.
Cool. So you should rebuild that.
Dev, and there we go.
Now, if you make it bigger, it'll be much more constrained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is going to be so much fun to use.
Yeah, it's
actually
just
building the
blocks.
website.
Yeah, so you can extend it, you can change it, but the basics are just there. It's based on like a bunch of projects I've worked on and Tailwind and other inspirations. Yeah, that's the basics.
Yeah, that's a great intro. So you're using it for your new Hey Bokeh site then, I guess?
Yeah, so the project I'm working on, like sort of side project I'm working on for quite some time now. Bokeh, which is like Hey Bokeh. Yep, that's the one. It's a platform for photographers, like a portfolio platform. I'm a photographer outside of my work. It's my main passion in life, outside of work. And it sort of grew out of this. So it's quite a large ecosystem of stuff. You've got the website, the platform. It's a portfolio app as well that generates a portfolio for photographers. And across all of that, we needed a consistent design language. Could have built it as like a style sheet, but I wanted something more flexible. So Pollen, it started as just a bunch of CSS variables that I sort of abstracted something more general, and then the config file sort of grew out of that to make it a bit more versatile. So it's used in production here and also used in a few other places. I've done like a few freelance projects in production, and maintained and loved by
yes. Great. Yeah, so there's a question here in the chat. What kind of CSS is this? And I'm just assuming that the question is about what kind of library this is. So this is Pollen style. I haven't actually put this in the chat. I should probably do that so people can go check it out.
Awesome.
Yeah. So this is a library that Madi's built, and he relies heavily on CSS custom properties. Is that a short and succinct? Words are hard. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. yeah, I guess that's it. We've been
Awesome.
streaming for almost an hour, and yeah, this was great fun. I'll probably invite you again at some point to show you what I've actually built, and
I would
then maybe
love
you can
that.
give me some hints and tips on what I
Definitely.
can improve. That could be fun.
100%. I'd love that.
Yeah. So where can people find you
So I'm
online?
on Twitter at Madeline Ostoja. Ostoja is Ostoja. It's a little weird one. I mainly do photography stuff there rather than development stuff. Also, obviously on GitHub. That's where most of my stuff's open source on GitHub. They're my two places.
Yeah. Let's see if I can put the Twitter here. You have a lot of like awesome like photography.
Thank
I
you. Yeah,
I
it's sort of my,
scroll
my big
scroll through
passion in
your
life. Yeah.
yeah
I love old. I've got about a dozen 67-year-old cameras. I like to do with old stuff.
yeah cool.
Cool.
Anything else you want to share or
No, it's been wonderful. Yeah, it's been
yeah
really good fun. It's my first stream, full stop. So it's been great.
yeah great awesome. I'm glad you had a positive experience.
For sure. Thanks for having me on.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for coming on. And to everyone else, that's it for this time. And on Thursday, we're gonna take a look at Figma with Matt Pilot. Oh, I don't know how to pronounce his name, so I think that's it, Matt Pilot. We'll see on Thursday or Tuesday. I think it's Thursday. Anyway, goodbye, everyone.
Bye.